5-minute prophecy.
Hey guys, welcome back to 5-Minute Prophecy, where each episode we study biblical prophecy for 5 minutes. So in Revelation chapter 1, verse 5, last week we talked about Jesus Christ being the faithful witness. That's what John wrote at the beginning of verse 5. He is the faithful witness. Witness to what? Witness to God the Father. Jesus, while he was on earth, while he is in heaven now, Jesus always has been and always will be the perfect witness and representation of God the Father. He and the Father are one. Okay? So we're going to continue in verse 5. We'll start in verse 4 again and then study more in verse 5. So grace to you and peace from him who is and who was and who is to come, and from the 7 spirits who are before his throne, and from Jesus Christ, the faithful witness, the firstborn of the dead. So let's talk about that phrase, the firstborn of the dead. What does that mean? When John is speaking to the firstborn of the dead, and Jesus being the firstborn of the dead, he's talking about resurrection. He's talking about the resurrection of Christ. And it's not unprecedented for a person to be raised from the dead. We know this from the Old Testament. If you remember, Elijah raised someone from the dead. If you remember in the New Testament, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. These are examples of 2 resurrections, But Jesus is different, okay? He was the first person resurrected from the dead that had a fully glorified body, okay? And that's what John is speaking to in verse 5, okay? When he says that Jesus is the firstborn of the dead. Jesus is resurrected. His body is fully glorified. All right. What does the Apostle Paul have to say about this? If you go to Colossians chapter 1, verse 18, Paul says this, and he is the head, he talking about Jesus, and he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in everything he might be preeminent. What does that word preeminent mean? It just means he's the first. He's the most important. He is the priority. Okay? Jesus is the first to be resurrected and have that glorified body. And the fact that John first, and then Paul says in Colossians that he's the firstborn, that means that there's more to come. That means that there will be others to follow. Okay? Thus, through his resurrection, he has opened the door for our resurrection. Okay? He has opened the door not only for our resurrection, but our glorified bodies after our resurrection. Okay? He's the first to have done it. We will follow him at the rapture. Okay, let's read Hebrews chapter 10, verse 14. The writer of Hebrews says this, for by a single offering he has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. Okay, what does this mean? Guys, when you accept Christ as your Savior, your soul is reborn. You're a new creation, okay? But our bodies, they remain sinful. Our bodies remain corrupt, okay? And they will, either until we die or until the rapture happens. And then what happens at the rapture? And we've talked about this before, but it's so awesome. The moment that we're raptured, that blink of an eye, from the time that we're standing on earth until we're with him in the clouds, that split second, our bodies are transformed, okay? To be glorified bodies like Jesus. Okay? He's going to give us that opportunity because he was the first to do it. All right? Never forget, Jesus allowed himself to be that one offering, to be that one sacrifice, so that one day we can be resurrected, so that one day we can share and having those glorified bodies like he does. Jesus truly is the firstborn of the dead.
5-minute prophecy.